The meeting for February 20th, 2018, 7 o'clock. Can we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner O'Nines, Commissioner Brady, Chair Moore,
Yes.
Vice Chair Ford,
Here.
Commissioner Hancock.
Yes.
And can we have approval of the minutes for the Cotati Planning Commission regular meeting of January 16th, 2018? Any changes?
That looked fine to me. Move to approve.
I'll second.
And can we have a roll call on that, please?
Chair Moore,
Yes.
Vice Chair Ford,
Yes.
Commissioner Hancock.
Yes.
Any changes to the agenda?
No, Madam Chairman, no changes.
So we just have one item that I'd like to add. Commissioner Brady has given her notice that she will not be on Planning Commission anymore. So someone will be entertained to, I guess it's Councilmember Moore who will be appointing a new commissioner to our Planning Commission. So I hate to see Jamie go. She's great. So on to oral and written communications. The public is asked to please step to the podium and state your name and address for the record. Please email your comments to the items not already agendized for discussion. If anyone would like to speak on anything that's not already on the agenda? Seeing none, I will close oral and written communications and do matters at hand. Our first item is update on capital projects by the city engineer. Mr. Scott?
Madam Chair, thank you. Craig Scott, Public Works Director, City Engineer. I've put together a fairly brief overview, snapshot of the projects we're currently working on, rather than a comprehensive CIP going out 5-10 years. This is just more real time, what we're doing right now. And I've put them together, organized them to recognize that there are operational projects that we do using primarily city resources. These are smaller type efforts, and then there's the larger capital projects where we typically hire a designer and then a contractor, so multi-hundred thousands of dollars of types of projects. So I put them into those two categories just to recognize the two efforts. The divisions, just as an overview, you've got these divisions generally that we're responsible for, and so they're organized that way as well. Streets, stormwater, buildings, parks, sewer and water. And then the sewer and water, the other ones are general fund, and then the sewer and water are the enterprise funds. Okay, so as I said, the operations projects, just a list here of the main efforts. We had budgeted citywide bike ped safety improvements. These are improvements that we just, throughout the course of the year, we get tips from the public, from the Planning Commission, from Council as to what we can do to improve safety around the city. And so this year we had $25,000, and so we went out and put in the speed feedback signs. We had 3 of those that you've seen around town, and mainly to the entrance points to the town, just to get people to slow down as they come into the city limits. And then right here at Valparaiso, we had a pedestrian safety, high visibility. We painted on West Sierra here, painted the crosswalk and put in the ped signs. There was already an existing crossing there, but it was faded paint, so we really made that paint stand out better. And on an old Redwood Highway, you've got the stop sign there with the rumble strips and the flashing red beacon, another one up on East Cotati Avenue. So those are the types of projects we've been able to pretty efficiently just knock out with a coordinated effort between engineering and the superintendent of public works, Al Martinoni. we'll sketch out something on a piece of paper, and he'll go out and buy the equipment and install those. Sunflower Park restrooms, that's become quite the project. Those restrooms have been shut down for a couple decades, quite a long time, and so we're the key there is that the door, we needed those to be automatic door locks, and so we've had to demolish the old door and put in a new door, put in electrical circuitry and power to the mechanism there, so that they would automatically, on a timer, unlock and then lock. So we anticipate it's just being an effort between the lock company, ourselves, the door company, the electrician. It's just bringing all those folks together and fitting those into our busy public works crew schedule. So if there's a water leak or something, I'll say they go run off and do that and put this on hold. So that's why those types of projects get drawn out. You might the stormwater drain replacements. There's, our crews are quite capable. They've got machinery and so forth to dig up fairly large pipe and install new pipe. So this was a corrugated metal storm drain under Redwood Drive, and it had been deteriorating. So you may have noticed, I think it was a few months ago, the Public Works had worked on Redwood Drive. You see the flaggers out there. That was a pretty big project for us in-house. City Hall conference room got a facelift. That was a pretty major effort for us to repaint that and get that looking really spiffy. And then sidewalk repair is something that fits in this category too, because it's just something we need to constantly, every year, notch away at. And this year we ground down sidewalks over by the Gravenstein Way, Wilford Avenue, Wilford Lane area back in there. There was probably over 100 uneven sections of pavement that we were able to grind down. Okay, so those are just the highlights of the operations side. Now, moving to the capital project side, we have coming up this summer this is what it was called, Street Construction and Improvements Project. We have $600,000 set aside to improve these roadways here. This is the L section of town. So this project is currently under design, and then once it gets designed, we'll put it out to bid probably in the May-June time frame for construction this summer. So we've got LaSalle, Lakewood, and Larch there. We hope to get to this amount. Depending on how the bids come back, we can maintain this scope of work or scale it back just so that we're fitting within the budget. Another roadway project is the East Cotati Rehabilitation Project, and that's to repave the roadway from the railway tracks to the city limits with Rohnert Park. It's about just under 700 feet, and this would be either a cold in place or a milling and an overlay, a pretty comprehensive, not a street reconstruction, but pretty major fix of this roadway. And over in the front of Sunflower Park, we're looking at removing those pine trees because they continually pull up the pavement there and causes havoc for the bicyclists. And then redo the sidewalk, and we want to take advantage of this, even though we're not required to do stormwater LID measures. We do get an opportunity to bank credits, if you will, so that if we do have a public project in the future that requires us to put in these measures to slow, sink, store stormwater, then we have these credits we can draw upon. And So we have this whole area in front of Sunflower Park that we can work with to make that happen. And then there's driveways and some ramps in there, just I think 3 or 4 ramps that we can get up to compliance with this project. But primarily the emphasis is on the roadway. And the timing on that is we just had the design contract approved and awarded, so they're getting going, and we have until November 1st to design it and get through the Caltrans environmental process and get their approval on the design plans to get the E76 form so that we can move into construction and get access to the $670,000 federal grant that we've won for this project. So we have $130,000 or so of our own money for the design, and then that opens up the $670,000 for the construction. We have, you were all probably aware of the CDBG money that we tap into just about every year, and this year we have access to $110,000 that we applied for, and this is currently, well, for the last 6 or 7 months, being CDC is completing the environmental for the project. And so we've got some preliminary design completed for this, but we're waiting on the environmental to get wrapped up, and that's managed by CDC, not by us, not by city forces. The project, the West School Street project, runs all the way from Clifford Avenue all the way through Richardson to the school there, and we necessarily have to do it in chunks because of the amount of money we get is $50,000 here, $100,000 there. So $100,000 for design construction gets us about 500 feet of the pathway, and we're just going to have to be patient and do it one chunk at a time. The bottom plan there, you'll see at the right where it's a little squiggle there, that's the existing paved path. I don't know if I can point to the screen, but does everybody see where that is? That's the extent of where the existing paved pathway goes. So we want to take that and extend it all the way out to the end of West School Street to where it gets to Richardson, and then continue down Richardson as far as our money will take us, and then which will probably be towards the left side of the bottom plan, and then that whole top plan we'll just have to address in another year. But at least we'll have the plans for it. It'll get the school children or walkers off of West School Street onto Richardson, and then I think that was seen as a priority this go around, because that transition from West School Street to Richardson was seen as kind of a bottleneck where it's important to get pedestrians safely across there. Okay. So that was all streets. Once moving on to buildings and parks, I just combined these just because it made the list look more impressive. The buildings, we've got the office remodel just down the hallway, and so that smell of fresh paint is because of that. And there's a community center re-roof that was in the budget this year. I don't think, quite honestly, we're going to be able to get to that this year, so it'll be a priority for next year. We just want to get to that before it causes, damage to the structure with the roof deteriorating. It is due to be re-roofed. And we have plans that have been prepared for the Folletti Ranch building improvements. That is to preserve the main structure there and the water tower structure. And we just want to preserve those. There's another It's not the end-all improvement over there. Its main emphasis is to preserve those buildings. So we're looking at re-roofing it, securing the chimney, and then on the water tower is to actually remove the tank that's inside, to cut it, chop it up and take it out, and then to reinforce the foundation and do some of the siding work. Any ADA improvements, that would just have to be, that's on another phase. Okay, so that's something we are looking to put out to bid in the next couple of months and get that constructed this summer. Okay, moving on to water and sewer, same thing. The list looks a little better when it's combined. These are two separate funds, but these are big projects. These are very large projects. The P1 pipeline is a $3 million pipeline project that we're currently navigating through the Caltrans encroachment permit process. The city sewer system comes down Old Redwood Highway, and it currently gets all crammed into one sewer that goes across the 101 freeway, follows the Laguna, goes across the 101 freeway and hooks up to our trunk main in Hellman Avenue. That is a bottleneck, and so we're looking to intercept that right at St. Joseph Way and take it under the freeway along Redwood Drive in front of Lowe's and then connect it to Hellman. And this would be a big relief. It would be a relief sewer, so that the sewer, under current conditions, the wastewater does come up out of the pipe and come up into the manhole a few feet in places. You know, it's well below the surface. It's 6 or 7 feet below the surface still, but that's something we don't want to see. We want to see the sewage stay in the pipe, and so this actually relieves that. And there's another couple sewers that we'd have to, over the next 10, 20 years, address over time. But this would be address the main part of it, okay? And so there's traffic issues there. It's a deep sewer, 20 feet. We're looking to put that out to bid March 15th. Hopefully it's a good bidding climate, and be able to move forward with that. And there's a development that's really contingent upon this pipeline going into place. We do not want to see, from an engineering standpoint, overseers of the sewer utility, we do not want to see a lot of development go in without this. So this is a priority for us. The St. Joseph sewer main, we have a 6-inch main in St. Joseph's that serves the west side of town, and it's been identified in our just in our studies as being undersized, and so we're looking to upsize that to an 8-inch pipe. And just some background, right ahead of the downtown specific plan project, we managed to get out of Old Redwood Highway and into St. Joseph. So we just opened bids on this last week, and it's kind of surprising. We had 5 bids, and we were way under the engineer's estimate. We were about 35, 40, probably about 30% under the engineer's estimate. I would never have predicted that in this climate. So that's why we want to get the P1 sewer out to bid pretty soon. So St. Joseph Way, once we get that contract awarded, we could be seeing that happen in the next couple of months. So it's been a dry winter, so if it continues to be that way, I'd have no problems them, the contractor going out and getting an early start with that. Seeing that groundwater would not be a problem. This would be a much shallower sewer than the 20-foot deep one for P1. So we've got two sewer projects. P1, $3 million in the St. Joseph Way. We're looking at about $150,000 job for that. Just give you an idea of the difference in magnitude. On the water side, we're wrapping up the well 1A improvements. And just to get away from text and give a diagram here, make things a little more interesting. The tank was out there at well 1A before, and it was a flat bottom tank, and so we do pull up some sand when we pump water, and over time that sand would start getting near the outlet, and so our crews would have to somehow get rid of that sand, and it was very problematic for us. And so we decided internally, hey, if we make a conical section to the upper right of that diagram, then the sand is all going to catch in that bottom piece, and we can open up some valves and just flush out the sand without anybody having to enter the tank or using a Vector truck or anything complicated. It would just be pretty simplified and routine to remove that sand. It's something we typically do maybe twice a year, but when it happens, it's critical in keeping that facility operational. So it's kind of a safety, operational, and fix, and then coupled with that, we put in a variable speed drive, a VFD, so that when the well pump is operating, it can operate with the tank to keep steady state. Before this, we would turn the well pump on, and the tank, because of the booster pump on the other side of the tank would steadily lose volume until it would just have to shut off. We couldn't keep it steady state. With the variable speed drive, we can just keep this thing on as long as it's needed, and the VFD will keep the level of the tank. So, maybe more details than you really want to know about, but this was a project that's just about wrapping up. It's operational today. It's just we're finishing up the controls. We can kind of turn it on and off in a manual fashion today, but in a few weeks we can just have it on operations, automatic SCADA control. I think this is the last slide. Yes, it is. So that concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to respond to any questions you may have.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you very much. Excellent to hear the overview there and to get the details on it, and appreciate that. Got a question about where the Valparaiso pedestrian bridge might fit into that. This bridge out here that was put in place, and supposedly you could get wheelchairs on and off it, and you can't. I mean, I raised it when it was actually finished, which was before your time, I think, but I raise it periodically and just say, is there any plans to be able to make that accessible, it just looks like one of those projects. So that's one question that's on there. And the second thing, good to hear about the East Cotati Avenue with the cycle lane. I know I raised that at the last public meeting, at the council meeting, because I thought it was an issue. The Redwood Drive area where it crosses over the Laguna, I'm just wondering where that fits into the priority. So at going north, it severely necks, and certainly for any bicycles going on the eastern side, it's very dangerous. And I know there's been a discussion as part of the bicycle committee. I was just wondering if that's anywhere in the project list. And just going down through the lists, on the sewer area, sounds good, but can you describe what the process is? Are you going to release another sewer master plan? Because I believe, at least the last one that I saw is maybe 10 years old, and there was a plan in that for the upgrading the sewer, so I ended up digging into it when it came out and appreciated that there was the detail in there. So anyway, those are my questions, and I have one other question that's maybe I'll let everybody else jump in first.
Ben? Well, I was going to have him to maybe do all of the questions first and then answer, if that's...
All right, it's a long list. Okay.
And you might have things that overlap.
Yeah, I won't ask anything that's the same. So I'm curious how many people we've got in Public Works. The Sunflower, the stormwater management you talked about alongside Sunflower Park with the East Cotati Avenue project. I'm curious, do you mean swales along there? What's the plan for that, just in general terms? For what did you mean by the stormwater management there? I'm hoping that East Cotati Avenue project also brings those bike lanes up to modern Class 2 standards, because I don't think they currently even count as a, certainly where they pass the pine trees they don't, but even the regular design there I don't think is wide enough to count as Class 2 anymore. And I was just curious on the Pump 1A tank, was that a new tank, or did you refurbish and somehow re-weld the one that was there to create this conical section? Thanks.
Steve, do you have any questions? I have a question on the sidewalks. You said you ground down a bunch of sidewalks, and so my question is, I know in the past that we've had the homeowner is responsible for the sidewalk in front of their house. So whether we were sponsoring that or the homeowner was getting billed for that. So that would be my question. And so you can answer all those questions now.
Lots of interest, I guess. Good to see you.
We're just quizzing you now.
All right, Neil, so the Valparaiso Bridge, that's, I do look at that quite a bit, and it's challenging to see what the solution would be. So that one, I just, nothing has occurred to me yet how to figure that out. We could certainly get people smarter than me in the room and try to work something out, what our options are. But the right-of-way is pretty limited, and the way it's configured now, it puts somebody directly out into the street, whereas you'd want to have somebody sort of come in parallel, so they're not jutting out into the street coming off of there. So it's nothing in the works right now to fix it, but we are thinking about it and thinking on solutions. That's the best I can offer you at this time. The East Cotati bike lane, I just wanted to add, it wasn't really a question, just kind of a comment on your part, but I did want to say that it's going to be over a year until we get to constructing that project, and so it's not satisfactory for us to just leave it in that condition for a year. And so I think the city manager mentioned this at the last council meeting. We will be, it's going to be an operations project to dig out that section, remove the roots. We're looking at needing to remove the curb and gutter at that time because it's caused drainage problems as well. So it's not just like doing a pothole repair. This is going to be pretty involved. And knowing that we're getting a permanent fix later, we will probably just put this asphalt curb in there and not pour a proper concrete curb. But we would do that fix to make it drain and to make it safe for bicyclists. I just wanted to add that. I failed to mention that in my presentation. The Redwood Drive, that next down at the bridge, I wasn't aware. That's not to say that others in the city are aware of it. I was just not something that I was aware of. And we can certainly add that to the list because the citywide bike ped project is an effort, like I said, that we're just looking to do every year and to just kind of etch away at these improvements. So that it can find a home in that effort.
Right, and I think we did discuss it or bring it out when we had a combined meeting with Roanoke Park. So it is one of those issues that's,
Okay.
it's, I mean, if nobody from Roanoke Park's listening here, maybe they've got a plan where they, maybe it goes by city size on how much of the bridge is done. I don't know. But
Sure. Okay. Good. Thank you for that. Because we certainly want to coordinate with them if they have it all figured out. So, the sewer master plan. Okay, so Classically, you know, looking at it, you'd say, oh yeah, it's getting kind of old. It was 2010, so it's been, you know, 7, 8 years. However, you have to look at, well, what's happened in that time frame? Has there been a lot of growth? Is it because it's possible that that master plan is still very much appropriate, because it's assuming a certain amount of growth, and for it to get old, you'd have to have the assumptions start to age, you know, where the growth was a lot faster than you anticipated, or something changed dramatically. And the thing that we've seen is that the wastewater flows have gone down because of water conservation has been such a big driving effort that has been very successful. So yes, we do get the wet weather flows, which actually drive the sizing of the pipes, but you know, the growth from the increased flows from growth has not really happened. It's gone the other direction. So my inclination is that these plans are still very much current, and the list of capital projects, we could certainly, actually, we did revisit that, and we made an addendum to that master plan as part of in a recent effort. So I could share that with you at a future meeting, but that's one way to keep it current, is to look. Okay, so kind of coming around this, but because of we got Cotati Station and 100 Valparaiso, we've got some of these major subdivisions development happening after a long period of inactivity, right? And so we had the sewer master plan consultant Corolla, which we used, dust off the model, put in the projected demands for these developments as well as other activities around town, and they reran it and to get us a timeline on the P1 sewer. There's a P2, P3 on down the line, and so that is what we are privy now to that information. We have an updated timeline and prioritization of that capital improvement project. So that's another way to breathe life into these 7, 8-year-old plans. So based on that, I would not recommend us, you know, doing a full-scale rewrite of those plans at this time.
So you're basically saying that plan is still current, though, because I thought
With the addendum.
Yeah, the P1 was actually going under Old Redwood Highway, or East Cotati, or Highway 116. I thought was the
Yes,
because it was planned pre all of that. So now you can move it. You're moving it further away from there. Or you're not. Anyway, I'm just wondering if it's still in that area.
it's in the master plan CIP. That's at the top of the list.
Mm-hmm.
So we just, it's all prioritized, and we're just getting through the list. And the P1 sewer is at that alignment, and it's a priority one for existing and future customers. So we're just it's very consistent. We're relying on that master plan in identifying that improvement.
So at the end of the P line, we will have gone where you wish to go.
Correct. It's all master planned. That pipeline is a master plan project. Yeah, it's looking to relieve a bottleneck that has been modeled and verified in the field with flow monitors. We have flow monitors out in the system. We've been monitoring it, and it's something where if you don't have the funding for it, you watch it really closely because the timeline for when you need it kind of it came and went, but at the same time, our flows have gone down, so we've actually been doing okay. But it's time to build this pipeline, and it's master plan and modeled and justified.
Very good.
Okay, moving on to the Ben's questions there. If I can read my writing. Oh, how many people? We've got a staff of 4 utility workers and the superintendent, and then 1 unfilled utility worker position. Let's see, then we have Sunflower Park BIOS. Okay, so with Sunflower Park, we were looking to get gutter flow off the street, probably run it through a bioswale, so it has some detention capability, and to allow it time to sink into the ground. And then for higher flows, it would just overflow and go into the storm drain. But some way to slow it down and to also treat it and clean it. So that's what we have in mind. Okay, and then for the bike lane all across that, from the railway tracks to the city limits there, it's similar to Old Redwood Highway. You know, you've seen some of the green bike paint where there's intersections and there's confusion. It's good to just spell out where you want the bikes to go for both the bicyclists and the cars. And so in that stretch, we've already had talks with the consultant as to where we might want to see the green bike paint. We don't want to go overboard on that, but in those areas, like perhaps at the entrance to Sunflower Park, where you might have people coming in and coming out, or as you get close to the train station where you have pedestrians crossing East Cotati at that point, you might want to be very clear that, hey, there's cars and bikes coming through here. So making it a Class 2 bike lane is something that's within the scope of that project. And the tank, there was a tank there before. There's another aspect of that question. Is it a new tank?
Yeah, it wasn't clear whether you had replaced the tank or...
Oh, yeah. So there was a flat bottom tank there before, which didn't lend itself to cleaning out the sand. So we took that out and put in this conical bottom tank. So there was a tank there. It helps us with our treatment process. Okay, and then for the chair's question on sidewalks, it is a fine line there, and where we've drawn it is that the grinding and kind of ramping that we do to sidewalks is a quick temporary fix. So the permanent fix, which would be to demolish the sidewalk and pour a new one, that is still squarely on the backs of the responsibility of the homeowners as per the state highway code. So that's how we've determined it is when a hazard like that, or a tripping hazard is brought to our attention, we go out there and we either grind it or we put a temporary ramp in there just to address it. And then we send a letter off to the homeowners to say, hey, we've come in and done this temporary fix. It's temporary. Make sure we're very clear about that. And that as per the code, they are responsible for the permanent fix. So we make that distinction.
Okay.
And I think
And we have one more question.
Yes, I've got one more question, and I'm sort of saving it because I think it's not something that you very briefly touched, but I think it came up some years ago. There was an upgrade to the SCADA system that went in the works, and initially was over. The quote for doing it was over, and then it disappeared off the radar. I know we've had some of the systems up, so I'm just wondering. One, what is the status of the SCADA upgrade that's there? And two, in this day and age, asking from the outside, what's the security implications? How secure do you, how much have you done? It's always an area in SCADA, which is a big industrial system, that is, the security has been lax to the extent that President Obama wrote a op-ed Times piece that SCADA should be improved across the country, not just with water utilities. But so what's our status of the SCADA, and what's the status of the vulnerability, if you like?
Well, there's no question this is a project that has dragged on longer than it should have. I think it's 3 or 4 years now, at least. Most of it has gone in. That is, the servers are there, the instruments, the wiring and it's all being connected. There are what we're calling phase 2, which would be a remote laptop so that we can operate it remotely, and a backup server to it, and then the training. So those pieces, we have money in this year's budget to do. So it's still in progress, work in progress, but the lion's share is being completed, and we're negotiating a scope of work for that phase 2 effort. And as far as security is concerned, the SCADA system is separate from the enterprise servers here in City Hall, and that is typical. And so they have a connection to allow you to remotely come in, and that's done through a firewall. And so you need to have the specifics of that laptop, that one laptop that the superintendent will have to be able to get in. And then all of the maintenance of that laptop, it's typically like 2 or 3 Microsoft Windows versions behind, because they're the most reliable, ironically. And we don't have the city's IT consultant come in and do regular updates. That's a way for viruses and hiccups to happen in the SCADA system. So it's not something that needs the latest and greatest updates of these Windows software. It can sit there on an older operating system. So we're very careful about that, and that it's distinct and different from the servers here. So you can imagine that if the IT person goes around and there's just a different level of importance with the office computers compared to going to the server there, where the SCADA system resides, and doing something, and then getting the blue screen of death, right? And then all of a sudden you lose operation of your tanks and your pumps and everything else. So it's completely separate. We don't have that. It's just a separate server system, software, everything. That's how
Could one of you tell me what the SCADA system is and does?
Oh, sure. So it's a supervisory control and data acquisition. I think that adds up to SCADA.
Yeah.
So it's an early internet, but just for controlling the electric network and also for controlling water networks.
Yeah, I guess at the basis you could have a pump with an on-off switch, and you'd have somebody standing there turning it on and off every time and looking at the reservoir level. And then somebody way back when thought there was a better way to do it, and so they put an instrument on the.
But in our case, it controls our water system?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
thank
So
you.
remote.
All I need.
Okay.
The other thing you should know is the Ukrainian systems were attacked with possible. I think some of the electricity systems were broken. The Iranian SCADA systems that were being used on the centrifuges were also attacked through. I don't know if you know the Stucknext story. I mean, you should just follow up on it. Just how they were introduced with a flash drive. So it requires also personnel operating conditions. So it's a vulnerable area that has been discussed in the security community, but it's really challenging because you have to put money into the security side, and security is just expensive, so it often gets skimped on.
So I'm going to open this up for public hearing to see if anybody would like to speak on this. Seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing.
Madam Chair, if I could for a moment, I would, we're never nice enough to Craig, but I would like to give him credit for, he obviously has a lot of master plans and a lot of projects to implement, but I want to give him credit for whenever he's got street projects, CDBG grants, he's always looking to the bike and ped master plan. This is for those of you who did that big walking, we had this huge inventory. The projects are in the plan, but there's also that follow-on of prioritized improvements, and Craig just tries to knock those out as he goes, and so we really appreciate that. Just wanted to let you know that.
No, I think that's a great thing. Thank you. I appreciate your presentation tonight.
Very much appreciate it, yeah.
So we're going to move along to appointment of planning commission members to serve on the pedestrian and bicycle wayfinding steering committee. And staff report.
Who else besides me?
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the commission. My name's John Paul Harries. I'm a senior planner with the city of Cotati. And tonight we're talking about appointing members to a steering committee to help with guiding the bicycle and pedestrian wayfinding signage program. This item, if you'll recall, was last before you in March or April of last year, where we discussed that we were going to be applying for a Transportation Development Act grant. And let me, now that this is up here, which we did. So, and also background, the Bicycle and Pedestrian Wayfinding Signage Program is identified as a high priority project in the Downtown Specific Plan. It's a priority 1 project, and high priority in the Bike and Pedestrian Master Plan 2014. So both of these planning documents include this as a high priority project. And then back in March and April, when we discussed pursuing the funds, we took that to council, took your recommendation to council. Council approved the request and then directed staff to go ahead and make that request for funds. We did that. We requested $90,000. It was submitted to the SCTA, Sonoma County Transit Authority, who reviewed it and approved it and passed it on to the Metropolitan Transportation Commission, who also reviewed it and approved it. And then they notified us of that award at the end of July of 2017. If you recall, we discussed that a big component of the initial part of this multi-year project is going to be design. And so we put out an RFP for a design consultant. We received 3 proposals back. And the one that we chose, staff level recommended the council approve, was a company called Merge, M-E-R-J-E, who we feel very fortunate to have gotten, because they are a company that deals exclusively in wayfinding projects and design, and have done work all over the country for both large and small cities. And we were very impressed with just their ability to, well, one, deliver on projects and manage projects, but also running a really good iterative public process. So there's a lot of involvement with the community in developing these signs. And everyone we contacted that had worked with them just spoke very highly of that team. So we're very happy to get them. One of the things was, we were looking at different communities and how they did wayfinding signage projects. It kept over and over again this idea of forming a steering committee of people with vested interests in the project and the success of the committee, that those be the people that sit on these committees, that they tend to be technical, and that it's a valuable thing, as opposed to just having, say, Vicki and I working with the consultant and kind of bringing a project to you in its mostly finished state. This provides for a more public and interactive and iterative process. So that's, we're following those recommendations that we saw there, and we took it to the city council just a couple weeks ago, actually a week ago, and they formed the steering committee and the makeup of the committee, which would be 2 members from the city council meeting and 2 members from the city council, and that would be Mayor Landman and Councilmember Deloso are going to be on that. 2 members from Planning Commission, which you will select tonight. 2 members from the Design Review Committee, and let me check my notes because I suddenly forgot. Well, I don't have it on here.
And a member from
Morgan.
the Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah, and then 1 member from the Chamber of Commerce, thanks. So, let me move along here. You recall, these are just some examples, I'm not going to belabor these, and kind of what we're going after. I won't go through this list, but I'll let you look at it real quick. You were familiar with it, but, you know, the idea is unique, harmonious, complements what we're trying to do here. And you'll recall that this is supposed to be a scalable project. With this $90,000 grant, we're only going to get started. We're going to get a good start, but it's certainly not the end of the project, which we view to be a multi-year project, and it will scale eventually to general city signage and business signage, which is why we want to have chamber involvement. So there's the members, and then I guess your primary responsibilities, you'd be asked to attend 3 to 4 public meetings. They'd be 4 to 6 weeks apart. They will be public meetings, Brown Act, governed by Brown Act. You'd be asked before you come to these meetings to review, do a technical analysis of any materials that were supplied by the design consultant, hash through any questions that we have or primary issues. And you're going to be helped to guide what's going to be an iterative process. And so we're going to go back and forth. We expect to get about 3 different design options as we initiate the process, and then we'll tailor those down to what we want. You'll be doing the technical review and, you know, helping provide staff with guidance on key project decisions. And that, hopefully, is brief enough. Is it? And I'm available for any questions that you have about it.
Good.
So is the role of the task force mostly design, or like is it design work as in graphic design, or is it where do these things go and where do they point to?
It's both.
Okay.
It's both, yeah.
Anybody else have any questions?
So how many meetings do you think you'll be having on there?
We're anticipating 3 to 4.
Okay, I don't have any questions. Steve?
In my mind, it would be Neil and whom else?
Well, I think we're not there yet, but
Oh, I know.
I'm going to open it up to the audience in public hearing if anybody had any questions. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. And it looks like we are requesting to have 2 members from our committee, our commission, to be on this committee.
Madam Chair, I would put my name forward for that. I have been very involved in promoting the early stages of this project and bringing it forward to, or promoting that it should at least get a budget item in the early days and be reactive. So if everybody else in the committee is supportive of that, I certainly would put my name forward for it.
Okay. Anyone else like to put their name?
Second.
Are you interested in serving, Chair Moore?
I am not. I am actually not interested at this point in serving.
I was thinking that I think Neil and I have sort of much of the same, because we bike a lot, that's sort of our focus. And I didn't know if there might be anybody with more of a pedestrian focus who might want to do that. I'd be willing to do it. I'm not champing at the bit to do it. So.
It would be great. I mean, I know you two have more of a sense of the Bicycle Advisory Committee and things, and at this point, I have too many family obligations to do extra meetings. So I don't know if Steve is wanting, no? So it looks like you two,
All right.
if that's okay.
I'm willing.
All right, then I will, I just need a motion to nominate,
I nominate Mr. Neil Hancock as the chairman.
I nominate Ben to the committee.
do you want to do it separately, Carrie, or can we do it together?
Separately.
Separately? Okay, so we'll do Ben first. I'll second that for, so there's a nomination for Ben from Steve. And then I'll second. And so we have a roll call?
Chair Moore,
Yes.
Vice Chair Ford,
Yes.
Commissioner Hancock,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Nines.
Yes.
And then Steve made a motion for Neil, and I'll second it. And then I'll have a motion, or I'm sorry, roll call?
Chair Moore,
Yes.
Vice Chair Ford,
Yes.
Commissioner Hancock,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Nines.
Yes.
All right, thanks. So we have reports by staff?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I have a couple of quick things. Also, at its meeting on February 13th, the council adopted the final canvas ordinance that you all worked so hard on. And so this week, we'll be putting out an RFP for that. I expect actually I'll have it out tomorrow. And so we're going to have that RFP out for, I think right now, 30 days. And see what kind of applications we get back on those. And so then staff will go through and if we have multiple applications if we have more applications than license types, or if we feel someone isn't a good fit for the community, we'll be doing all of that evaluation, and then those will go to the council for decision. So I think that'll be sometime in the May timeframe. Yes, Commissioner O'Neill.
You know, we get an awful lot of people that come up during the public speaking that state that they would certainly like to be considered. This would be a great time to bring them forward by name and say, you know, want to do something, here's a chance to do it.
To hold a license, you mean?
To participate in Cotati government service.
This is for licensing, for the cannabis licensing, so if you wanted to do the delivery, or you wanted to have a license in town, I think that's what you're talking about for
Yes,
RFP.
yes, that is what I'm talking about.
Without making a great assumption that I might receive criticism about, a lot of them seem like they might be quite interested in that as well.
Well, we will put it out there, and certainly experience in whatever license function they're going for is one of the factors that we're going to rank pretty highly. So, you'll be seeing those come forward to the council. Just a quick update on the issue of the hotel. We've been working with the developer's design team to sort of nail down what constitutes an application, and, you know, hashing through details of the downtown specific plan. And so I'm very excited to say that that's moving forward, and the preliminary concepts are very appealing. So we'll be at some point after their formal submittal, which we're anticipating to be mid-April. That's their estimate right now, that we'll be bringing forward some type of public forum for folks to see what that looks like. So stay tuned for that. And then the city manager's office will be recommending a contract for the council and the Veranda Folletti Ranch operations next door. And we held a public workshop here to receive some input, got some really valuable and really creative thoughts on that. So the operator may be varying their proposal slightly to accommodate some of those. I'm not sure yet, but that's all being handled out of the city manager's office. So look for that coming forward to the near future to the council as well. And I think with that, I'll just say I'm really excited for JP to be able to start off on the wayfinding signed program. I know it's a time commitment for everybody, but he didn't mention this tonight, but he's mentioned it in the past, and I think it's an excellent point, is that one thing the wayfinding program could result in is the elimination of lots of duplicate signs that we've got around the city. So really looking forward to a unified family of signs that can give us just overall less clutter. So I'm excited about it. And thank you. Appreciate it.
Any reports by commission?
I'll add one thing to the staff report. As Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee, you might be interested to know that we now chair the countywide Bicycle and Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee. So.
Yeah, that's a good point. We get to brag. JP chairs the Bike and Ped. I chair the Planning Advisory Committee, and Craig's office is chairing, I think, at least 2 of the regional water issues going on. So we've upped our presence recently.
Nice, that's good.
I'd like to mention that I've been in contact with Mr. Craig Littman, who seems to be our chief individual pressing the cannabis issue, and have let him know that I'd be amenable to taking a tour of one of his groups. He says light refreshments will be served, brownies and cookies. So looking forward to going to do that soon.
I just had one observation to bring up. I was at the bicycle crossing, having got at the railroad crossing on East Cotati Avenue, having got off the train and waiting for the train to go past, going north, and suddenly the boom started going up. So the train did a toot-toot to say that it was going, started moving, the booms got halfway up, and then they came back down. So it was a little bit of a surprise to see that, but I mean, I don't know how you sense a train in a station, but it was sort of having a bit of a problem there, but just a heads up.
So I'm actually taking the tour of Mercy Wellness on Tuesday, for Recology. So, a week, next Tuesday, a week from today. So, so another coworker and I are actually taking that tour because Cotati is her territory. So it should be interesting. But I'll be on work hours. If there's anything else, no, and then I'm going to adjourn at 8:03, 8:04.